Hi, everybody. First of all, I just want to thank Iris and Patty for lending your group to me and your community to me. I met some of you at the networking event in Burbank. Maybe some of you I haven't, but it's a group that I'm proud to speak in front of because everybody's so ambitious and passionate about their talents, their abilities, their crafts, their services that they offer. So I've even talked to some people since the event that did reach out about social media. So today I will attempt to dive as deep as I can. Like I'm a deep, not wide person. So I don't want to spend too much time on, each individual point, but like Patty said, interrupt me if you want to. And we just treat this like a conversation, raise your hand, and just, you guys just let me know what you need help with, and then we'll go in that direction because marketing is a very broad topic. So even when Iris and I met, we talked about how we could incorporate like in-person and online marketing because those are two totally different things, but they're very similar in a lot of ways. So let's get into it. Let's get to the first slide. Okay, so a little bit about me. Um, I probably don't talk about this a lot, but my professional background is in paralegal. I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and I worked for a few years in corporate. So that was my first, honestly, introduction to marketing. The attorney I was working for, interestingly enough, he was bringing in a lot of traffic using SEO, which I'll talk about, which is basically keywords and phrases that help you get found on Google. And it was crazy to me how much money he was making just from like writing blogs. So that opened up my mind to digital marketing and the power that reaching people online can really have just by knowing what they're searching for. But my first business that I used to market on Instagram was actually a personal training business that I did in LA for about 8 or 9 years. And I got every single client from social media and some through networking and going to events. But I'm going to give you guys all of the game changing things that I did to help me really never spend money on really any ads or have to jump through any crazy hoops, just create consistent content, be a good person, which all of you are, and have a good heart and be honest. And that will help you to be able to attract people that you want to your business. And I'm also very passionate about women gaining wealth through entrepreneurship in ways that you can scale your business. So even when it comes down to marketing, I'm an organized person. So I like to talk about having strategies that you can hand off to somebody else when you're ready to outsource it. If you have a strategy they can implement very easily, it makes it just so much better for your business to grow. I officially started business coaching women at the time of the pandemic. So even though I was doing my own business, I had a hair business. I ran multiple businesses on social media during the pandemic, and a little bit before is when I started taking other people's businesses and transforming them through coaching, through consulting, and all those things. And over that time, it helped me also get to know you guys, the entrepreneurs, from your perspective, because I only had my view of how things went. So since then, I've helped 30 just one-on-one business owners grow their businesses, get marketing strategies, develop their launch plans, and all that good stuff. But on a grander scale, I also have people that have bought my ebooks, my master classes, subscribe to my newsletters, and they use a lot of these tips that I'm going to give you today every day just to even increase their engagement. So we'll talk a little bit about the strategies that I use in my agency, which I now run with a couple of freelancers. So the structure of my business now has two sides of it. It is coaching, which I work with people one-on-one, and it's really intimate. And there's the agency side where the freelancers that I work with are their own bosses, but they also help to execute and do graphics and edit videos and do all the things that you don't have time for. So that's really special to me because I started by hiring VAs who we know out of the country get paid really less. And ethically for me, it felt like all the women's entrepreneurs were doing this because they felt like it was cost efficient to pay someone in the Philippines or in Kenya $5 or $6. So my first VA, I made a promise to her that I would pay her an American livable wage, which would essentially make her rich in Kenya, because the Kenyan shilling is worth like $10,000 for every American dollar. And it was really like something profound for me, because I said, if I care about empowering every woman entrepreneur, then why give her $4 just because she happens to live in Kenya, when essentially she's going to still be struggling and won't ever attain wealth. So part of my business model is to help people in other countries make exactly what we make too, and not just treat them like they're doing slave labor, when half the time they're working 10 times as hard as us just because of living in third world countries and things like that. So that's the Marketing Pros, the agency that I have now. And that is the offers that we help, not just women. I haven't helped any men yet. Big surprise. They're hard, like a little bit harder for me to work with, and I'm very passionate about helping women because I'm a mom. So that's just my focus, and that's what works for us. And everybody that works for us too they're from all over the world, and they're all women, and all of my clients are women too. So we're here for the girls. Next slide. Okay, so I'm going to break this down into two different components, but I want to say before I even do that, that if you're more conditioned to in-person marketing and you feel more magnetized towards the tips that I give in that arena, don't walk away from this tonight and not try the online things and the online strategies, because there are a lot of things in here that are going to be out of your comfort zone. And there may be some terms or technology or things that your brain could just be like, this is too much. I'm just going to stick with what I know. She said to do this. I know that I go to in-person events and this is what's easy for me. There's so many customers on the outside of your comfort zone, and I'm a coach by nature, so I'm here to like flip you out of the bed, out of your comfort zone, and make you really think about doing something that is not only uncomfortable, but it has more reach and more impact. So everything you do in person has 10 times the capacity if you do it online, because I mean, how many people's doors can you knock on? How many hands can you shake compared to a reel that can get a 10,000 person reach in an hour? So I want you to think about working smarter and not harder. But when you do go to in-person events, there's ways of making sure that your time is very valuable and you can leverage those short interactions with people so that you make connections that matter, and you also can get clients from these events that you do go to. So when it comes to in-person speaking, I like to talk about networking and speaking engagements and all of those things in one, but there are many ways that you can do this. So when I do speaking engagements, I have a set of rules for myself. So women don't usually set boundaries, right? We will say yes to everything, especially when we're in that desperate energy of trying to get customers or trying to get money. But every single thing that you do should have a strategy. And I think because we're also anti-capitalist, we can't fathom the thought of going to an event with the intention of getting a client, right? We always want to mask it and be like the good girl and be like, I'm not really trying to get a client or do business. I just want to meet people. But that's not the truth, right? In this world, you have to have, if you're going to be in business, you have to have some part of your intention be to profit. And I'm really big on that. And I'm really big on telling people to raise their prices, set boundaries, and make sure you get paid. So if you're going to be strategic about speaking engagements, maybe you're going to set up negotiations where you get a recording of the video so you can repurpose it and sell it. Or maybe you limit the free ones that you do or waive the fee for certain organizations. Like, for example, for me, I will speak at a school for free no matter what, because as part of my mission is to talk to the youth. So for you, if you're going to go to a speaking engagement, just think about that both sides have to win, right? Either you're getting in front of a group of people that are your niche audience. And this is interesting. A guy posted yesterday that if you go to a speaking event to speak as an expert, that you should pay to go to that event because you're you're getting access to that audience and you could potentially make money from that audience. And he opened up the conversation of, would you pay $1,000 to go speak in front of a group of people if you could pitch yourself? And people talked about, well, shouldn't I get paid if I go to speak at an engagement? And it's really perspective, right? How many connections are you going to make in that room? What is your earning potential? You know, what are the people that are in that room, what buying decisions are they making? And this is really key because when I was a personal trainer, I was going to so many women's events that seemed like my target audience was in the audience, but they weren't. I'll give you a good example. And this is why marketing is research, and you have to really think deeply on this. I did an event at the Beverly Hills Public School District, and the people that did the event orchestrated a health event. Now, I'm a personal trainer at a health event in a school district where teachers make more than most of the teachers in the county, right? So that's like cha-ching, right? But if you look at human behavior, all of the teachers already had trainers. So people living in that area, in that community, they were not open to my offer. So at the booth, they came up, they got my information and stuff, but I was not able to get anybody because these are people that have had trainers their whole entire lives. Now, people that had massage booths got businesses, right? They were able to sell a little 30-minute massage right on the spot. So the point in telling that story is to do your research, dig into the event, see who else is going to be there, how you're going to stand out, what are the buying patterns and behaviors. And I'll show you guys how to do some research so that you're not just blindly not knowing what people that are looking for your service want. You want to know exactly how they think, not their demographics, not their age, not like how I was like, ooh, they got money over here. That's not it either, because if they're not going to spend the money with you, then it doesn't matter. So I was the only personal training person there, but we couldn't pitch training to anybody. They're like, oh, I go to yoga on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and Pilates on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and my trainer runs at the beach with me Monday through Friday. I'm like, okay, can I come with y'all? Because I have nothing to offer y'all. Like, it was literally like that with every person we talked to. So you want to strategize. The other thing is that business cards, in my opinion, now this is an Ashley thing, are becoming obsolete. They're becoming obsolete. People take your business cards and like clean their teeth with them. So you want to start thinking more advanced as far as technology. And really, I have something on the back of my phone that's called a popple. And when you touch it to someone's phone, it actually pulls up all of your Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever links you put there. And then that person can instantly follow you. And it's a time saver. So if you take $50 and go buy $250 worth of business card, 250 business cards, just think about, like, could that money have been put somewhere else? Because most of the time people can't find a business card afterwards. And it's really hard to get people to keep up with them and follow up with them. So one thing about marketing is the people that make the most money are the people that are making the decisions that reflect people's current behaviors. So me and my dad used to get into it about this, because 5 years ago, he'd be like, did you get your business cards? And I'd be like, no, Dad, I got my phone. And he'd be like, that's not going to work. Because, older people that don't change with the times and they aren't flexible, you can't get them out of the thought pattern of, hey, you need business cards. You have to also be careful that printing business cards and flyers doesn't become one of the ways that you procrastinate, right? Like, instead of making that pitch or that simple DM or email to somebody that maybe you already met, you're like, I need new business cards, or you're focusing on the branding or things like that really don't have as much of an impact. So I'm not saying don't buy business cards, right? But I'm saying, like, if that is what you have on your list of things to do, there are so many more things that you can do that might be just more impactful for your business. The name of it is called a popple. It's POPL. And if anybody wants to DM, I'm pretty sure I have an affiliate code or something from them that is about 20 or 30 bucks. And they also have cards that are like, they look kind of like an American Express little metal card that you can put in your wallet, and you just touch somebody's phone and it pulls it right up on their phone. So things like that really help especially when you're going to groups where you're going to see a lot of people. Now, my other hack is if you're going to be a vendor at a pop-up shop, or you're going to have your own space, if you can take a laptop or a tablet and add people directly to an Excel spreadsheet, or preferably an email mailing list if you have one, that is the best thing to do. Because I tell my clients, you're going to this event to fill up your email list. Like, you are not going to get a customer, right? Marketing services with us are premium. They're in the thousands. So if I go to an event, I'm there to get contacts. I'm not there to get customers, right? And marketing is building a relationship. So you have to warm people up and understand that they're going to see your content later and build that relationship with you later. Because if you go in with the expectation that I'm going to make X amount of dollars, then you didn't collect the emails, right? So we would get creative ways. So that Beverly Hills thing, we got a lot of emails, right? We bought a spin board to have people come up and spin and win things in exchange for their email address. So we gave out tons of free stuff just for emails. And I think that was impactful for people to be like, dang, I get like a protein shaker and a planner for my email, because yeah, your email is like gold to me. Are you kidding me? I'm going to send you emails and build a relationship. It's like a guy asking for your phone number. I know that this is the start of a great relationship. So my goal as a vendor or at a booth is to get your attention so that you guys can feel safe to add yourself to my email list and actually want to be a part of my email list, and it not seem like some sort of bait just to get you over, right? Thank you for the links, guys. So another thing is referral programs, right? So if you have people that are already doing business with you, this is an easy way to add a couple $1,000s to your bottom line by reaching out to people that you've met at events and people that you maybe even used to work with, and saying, hey, I don't know if you need anything right now, but if you know anybody that needs something, if you send them my website and tell them to mention you, I will give you a certain percentage off my services. Now, a lot of these things seem like duh, because you see people do them all the time. But like I said, I'm an organized person. So I would literally take all of these things and write them down and put them on a calendar so that I can make sure either monthly, weekly, or daily, I'm sending emails out to those people. I personally, if I meet someone at an event, I make a segment in my email list and I name it after that event. Like, hey, this is the XYZ event. And then I add those people to that segment in my list so I can send them a specific email that says, hi, I met you at the LA Women's Expo. It was so nice to meet you. And if you guys met me at So Festively, you got that email from me, because I definitely sent that email to every single person that I met at the event. And here's the reason too. It's not even a tactic, really. It's just because we meet people at events and we tell ourselves we're going to network, and we never talk to those people again. We never see them again. We don't stay in contact. So that just became my way of taking even people that do give me business cards, taking those business cards. And when I get home, as tired as I am, sitting there, putting them into whatever my email software is. So I like to use that as a part of my segment so that they're not getting an email that has nothing to do with them. They're getting an email saying, hey, I met you at this event. And that strategy works well, because people always say to me, hey, nobody ever does this. Nobody ever really reaches out to me after events. I never see them again. And then I also say, vet people that you meet, vet them. You don't need to go to coffee with everybody. You don't need to, and this is something that is not talked about a lot, because we have this culture of like instantly become everybody's friend, collaboration over connection. But one thing I take very seriously is my time, and you cannot buy time back. And it's like foolish to believe that everybody at the event is going to be a great connection for you. So as women, we have to use our intuition, our discernment, and know what is the great relationship. What does that look like from both ends before you just collaborate and network with everybody that you meet with. And many times too, we don't follow our gut. Like you meet somebody and you're like, that might not be a good person to collab with, but you say yes. And you're next thing you know, you're out to coffee with them and you're saying yes to all these things, but it may not be in alignment with your business goals. So that is the bulk of what I'm going to say about that. Oh, can you go right back? The previous slide. Okay, so I'm going to jump to online marketing because there's so many components of online marketing. And one thing that's not in this list is your website itself. I know a lot of people are like still trying to rebuild their website or maybe building their website or may not know what to put on their website. And the thing that I will say about that is the most important thing about what's on your website is the words, right? Professional pictures do good, especially if you're in the event business, but the SEO, which is search engine optimization, is the number one thing. And the reason I have blogging written next to that, because blogging is a way that you can get a lot of words on one page that Google can easily index and say, this page is about this. And when someone is actually searching for those phrases, then they'll connect them to you. This is a good question. Don't we need to be a writer to blog? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You do not need to be a writer to blog. However, if you want your blog to be found online, you do have to have those keyword phrases in there. And that's what SEO is. So SEO is basically a ton of group of keywords that people search. So when someone goes on Google and they type in how to bake a chocolate cake, that is an SEO keyword phrase. And when you start typing in Google, or YouTube is another place that's really good for this, you'll see all those phrases come down. Those are the words that people are searching a lot. And that's why Google's trying to guess it for you. And when you write a blog, you want to have some of those words in there so that you can be writing in a way that people find your writing. Now, a lot of people blog just for fun, and a lot of people blog because they want to be found and they want to look like the expert in that area so that people can read their blog, trust them more, and then buy something from them. A really good tip if you're a beginner and you don't know about blogging and you're like, what the heck is the blog, is to start reading some blogs. And this is with anything. If you're not familiar with social media, kind of take an objective approach and look at how they're setting the blogs up. Look at how they're titling the blogs, how they're outlining the numbers that they put in the blogs, and how they have links to other things, and start to learn about these things so that you understand the format of these things. One thing I noticed with most of the women that I help is they kind of line up whatever challenges they had in school with marketing. And what's really interesting about that is that writing for marketing is much easier than writing for school, because when you write for marketing and when you write to blog, you're writing at a fifth grade and below level, because people are not Googling extra complicated things. If they were, they wouldn't need to Google it, right? If they knew those deeper understanding. So when we write, we actually put all of our writings into an app to see what grade level it's at, because you need to, they say if you can write at a third grade reading level, you will be a millionaire, because you have to think about that you're writing for the vast majority of people. So where you think you have to be this skilled philosopher and you didn't do good in like college English, when it's like, no, you actually have to write simpler than you normally would and on a very basic level. So it's much easier than you think. And it's always good, in my opinion, it's always good to learn about something, right? Even if you're going to have somebody else do it. And this is a good example. The first person that ever built a website for me, I was like, I'm not a copywriter. I don't know about copywriting. And the contract said she was going to help with copywriting, right? I wrote all the copy for my own website. She just copied and pasted it onto a Wix template. And because I thought that she knew about copywriting and I didn't, then I kind of gave that authority to her, and I didn't know what I was paying for or what I was checking. So just like when you're buying a car, you want to be an informed consumer and you really want to get to know. A lot of us feel really ashamed to like type into Google, what is a blog? How do you write a blog? You know, how do I start my first blog? These are things that are very, very easy, but I think mindset gets in the way when it comes to those things. The second component, so Google, I will put under the topic of getting found online, meaning if you have the right keywords on your website, you might not even need social media because people are Googling things and finding things, and Google and YouTube are one and the same as far as search engines. So if you have somebody if you have enough words on your page and tags and other things, then people will find you naturally. But social media is where most of us lie. That is where my specialty is. If any of you guys follow me on Instagram, sorry for the spam. I post a million times a day, and I'm not even sorry about it because I love Instagram. And I think that it takes a lot of the technological things out of it. One of the things that I really love about Instagram is that, and this is part of my mission, is that marketing used to be really gate kept, right? If you weren't like a white man that went to Harvard, you knew nothing about marketing, you knew nothing about branding, you had no strategies to actually get stuff out there. You didn't know what buy a commercial or something like, how would you really market your business? Instagram shattered that. Instagram is instantly even the playing field for people like you and I to be able to learn major concepts and apply them, or maybe even not know these concepts and just organically, authentically attract people out in the world by just being ourselves. So I love social media marketing. I really firmly believe that no matter what you sell uniquely, you can definitely reach a community of people by creating consistent content. And I also think that if you're open to hopping on TikTok, if you're open to playing with the newer features in Instagram, and especially those of you that have services, your long tail strategy really should be a piece of content that is evergreen, meaning people will always find it. A YouTube video on how to do something or a tutorial will get you so much views and eventually get monetized, but it is something that people feel overwhelmed with. So my advice is to always start with what you start with. What if you went live every week and then later those lives turned into your entire YouTube channel? Or what if you just started with one post on Facebook on the same day every week? Just something to get yourself moving in the right direction so that you can get some consistency. I also believe that podcasts are really good. And a big fear that I run into is people don't want to give away all their information for free because they're like, well, if I give it away for free, then aren't they going to just go do it themselves and not hire me? Hell no, they're not going to do it themselves. How many times have you watched a full workout video from your couch? I mean, I do it all the time. Just because you're putting out every little behind the scenes thing of how you do things, it does not mean that somebody's going to take that idea and all of a sudden start a balloon company. They're not. It's entertaining to watch, but it shows that you're the expert. It doesn't mean that they're going to go cook that meal or they're going to go do it and not hire you. So I think that putting out all of your everything on social media, high value content is the way to go, because people are like, well, dang, if she'll give me all of this information just right here on social media, she's probably amazing to work with. And that's a really good strategy for providing value to people up front, helping them before they ever spend a dime with you and showing them the heart of your business right there on social media. The last bullet is email. And the thing is with email is you guys don't understand how powerful email is, because if you're not engaging with people and keeping them warm, they're kind of going cold. So if someone has an encounter with you, they need to be on your list. And it's so important to be able to launch something specifically to an email list because they've already made the decision to be a part of your community. And we call this permission-based marketing, meaning we asked you if you wanted to be on our email list and you said yes. You gave us your email address. So that is nothing better than somebody saying yes. Somebody saying, yes, I want to receive emails from you. Yes, I want to get communication and know what's going on with sales, with specials, with deals, with monthly themes, with newsletters, what you're talking about. And what I find happen with the clients I coach is that they send an email out and then they ghost. And then they send an email and then they have this looming guilt of, I have not sent an email out to my community in forever. So one thing I suggest with emails is send out short emails. You don't have to send out paragraphs and paragraphs of emails. Another thing is don't apologize, right? How many times do you see that person hopping on social media saying, hey, I'm sorry I've been away for so long. We do not care. We did not even notice that you have not been on social media until you said it. And now we're looking at you like, okay, well, what was going on? Because we didn't really notice. It's only, nobody knows your consistency but you. And I think when you haven't sent an email, you haven't been posting consistently, you get in this shame that makes you procrastinate even more, and it slows down and it makes your audience get even more cold. So the quicker you can be like, so what, I haven't sent an email since February, I know it's cringe, but I'm going to move on and just hit the send button, your audience is probably happy to get an email from you. So you just never know. Okay, next slide. All right, now we're going to go through the strategies. I gotta move I have my camera where I could, okay, I can't see the words. Okay, so this is my number one thing, because I don't think people realize that they're not getting leads into their business. And what I've been noticing more and more is that people either being overwhelmed with the clients they already have. So acquiring a new client is like out of the question, because you're frozen. You're like, I'm not about to hire more help. If I got a new person, or if I got 10 new people in the door, it really wouldn't be an ideal situation for me, because I'm not ready to grow at that speed. Or you've been marketing and things are slow, and you're so in that slow space that you're like not thinking about the fact that you haven't gotten a customer in. So if you were a bigger business though, or even if you went and worked at Foot Locker, you'd have daily sales goals. Guys, I used to work at Famous Footwear when I was 16, and they would be like, today, your shoestring goal for today is $200. So when you're buying your kids shoes, I got to be at the register like, don't you want some shoe cleaner? Don't you want some shoestrings? Don't you want, they have what they call their accessories goal, or whatever it is for the day. But as business owners, we don't have client goals. We aren't like, okay, for June, I want 6 clients. For May, I want this amount of clients, June, July, and really scoping out the financial decisions that we're making, and really looking at what does it take to acquire one client. We're kind of just hoping and manifesting and wishing, and being very like general and vague about it, as opposed to being like, hey, I got 100 hits to my website. 30 of those people joined my email list. 10 of them opened the email. 1 of them clicked on my link, right? And then that person that clicked on the link, did they buy something? Did they book a call? You need those numbers, and you need that data, so you can see how to get a customer in the door. And what I've noticed more recently is that if you're coming from corporate America like I was, now I don't want to project this if this isn't you, but you'll take the passive energy of working in corporate America, where you kind of sit back and get tasks handed to you, and nobody's like, people are standing over you saying, hey, you have to do XYZ to get a customer, right? But in your business, you kind of take that passive energy. Nobody's going to come and be like, here are the 10 tasks that you need to get a customer. So that makes you kind of post something and sit back, but you don't be more proactive as far as like reaching out to people, trying to get them on a phone call, trying to close with them, and going forward instead of being passive. And as women, we do like to receive, right? We think, oh, I have this service, I posted it. If they see my post and they want something, they'll reach out. No, they won't. They need your engagement. They need you reaching out. They need your emails. So you have to ask yourself, how am I going to get someone to see what I'm offering every single day? And I don't mean just a picture of something that you're selling. I mean a sales conversation, as in, hey, what's your challenge? How can I help you with that? Do you have a budget? Do you have a price range? What date would you like to get that started? Would you be opposed to getting started with that this month? How soon? Like, we don't even ask those sales questions to people of, have you ever hired someone in my field? What is your challenge that you feel like you need help with? And this is where your social media will attract people and warm them up, so you can have those conversations comfortably, right? Because how hard is it to go from not really talking to anybody to, hey, you want to buy my stuff? People don't really take lightly to that. So social media is where you warm them up to those sales conversations. And then eventually you got to pull the trigger, shoot a DM, reach out to some people, and actually make that pitch. Okay, we can go to the next slide. you guys let me know if you have a question. I'm not really looking at the chat. The next step is convert. So before I say,
actually, there was a question in the chat that I'm not sure got answered, and the question was, how many emails per week?
That is a really good question. So I say do what you can realistically do. I tried to do one email a week and it didn't work out for me. I could not get that email written, edited out in a week, right? And the thing that I also tell people when they're writing down their marketing tasks, write down every component of it. When you write an email, you don't just write an email. You research, you outline, you draft, you edit, you construct the email, you add graphics. You know, there's like 7 steps in sending an email. And what was happening was I would write down, send 5 emails. Girl, how? When it's taking you 5 hours to just get one email out. And I think it's because I wasn't really taking a really good look at all of the little components in an email. So one thing I have my coaching clients do is track their time and set a timer and see how long it actually takes you to do something. And I promise you, you will get a better understanding of the amount of capacity you have to actually get those emails out. Because especially if you haven't sent an email in a while, you're like, I'm going to send an email every day because you're all ambitious from the guilt. But then when it comes down to it, you're like, oh gosh, I'm only on paragraph 2. I'm lost. I don't know what to think. So I like to break things down. Maybe you send out an email a week, but maybe Monday you write out the headline and the outline. Maybe Wednesday you kind of do a brain dump and get the thoughts out of your head. And maybe by Thursday you say, okay, I need a draft out by Thursday because one thing that Grant Cardone says, I know you guys know who Grant Cardone, he's super salesy, but one thing he says is that for every business decision he ever made, it always took him 10 times the time, money, and effort than he thought it was going to take. And I could totally attribute like most of my experience to that. I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. And then a month later, I'm like, I can't believe I haven't been finished with this yet. And it's because I just underestimated like the time that it would take. So there's no right or wrong answer or really minimum. I just say be consistent. If you're going to send out one email a month, send out one email a month. You know, don't make it on a specific day. Just make it something that you can realistically keep up with. Even with social media, people, my clients look at me and they're like, I can't make 1,000 reels a day. I'm like, I never told you to. I'm like, that's just what I'm doing. So don't ever like set your frequency to somebody else's because you just never know what your life can really allow you to do. So I hope I answered. That was a really good question. So before I go into how you're going to convert people to customers, I first want to talk about what a conversion is. So there's many different places, and by conversion, that just means someone was interested, so they were a lead, and then they became a customer, right? So you're going to convert them from a lead to a customer, and during that conversion, that is the sticky part. That either happens on a sales call or on your website or sometimes through your DM. And the difference between someone being a lead and a customer is a lot of tension, maybe for them, especially if it's a huge buying decision, a big event, a large, what I call a high ticket offer is something that's like over $2,500 or $3,000. It's harder to convert those leads from Instagram because most people on Instagram are not spending in those dollar amounts. But if you know what to do, it becomes really, really easy. So a conversion rate is the percentage of people that viewed something and then did what you wanted them to do. So let's say you're trying to build an email list and you have a landing page and 100 people go to the landing page, but 50 people give their email address. You have a 50% conversion rate. And that percentage is going to help you make your sales predictions. So if I get on 10 calls and one person signs up out of the 10, I have a 10% conversion rate. So the average conversion rate on websites is very low. So the conversion rate from social media to a website is 1%. That means 1% of the people that see your content will click the link in your bio. 1%. And this is why we tell people to do reels, because even if you don't have a lot of followers, reels can reach a huge amount of people that aren't even following you. And if this is a numbers game and we're going by conversion rates, 1%, then we need as many people to see this as possible, especially since there's a second conversion rate at the website. So if 100 people see it, the conversion rate on websites are only between 3 and 11%. So from social media to clicking that link to then on that page doing whatever it is that you want them to do, those numbers are low. And I'm here to set the expectation, because some of you are beating yourselves up because you haven't got a customer until you hear those numbers and you're just like, oh, dang, no wonder I haven't gotten anybody to buy my product or sign up through my website, because the conversion rates are extremely low. Now, this is me tooting my own horn. Our websites convert at around 30 to 40%. And that is because we put a lot of work into the copywriting. So the words that are on the page really, really, really matter. The buttons, where they're placed, how we set up the landing pages, and what we're doing to get the inquiry. So, for example, when you're creating content, people won't convert if you're attracting a lot of people that are not qualified for what you're selling. I'm not talking about ideal client. Ideal client is if I sell personal training and you're overweight, then you're ideal, right? Because I can help you lose weight, I can help you get in shape. But that doesn't mean that you're qualified to work with me. What are your qualifications? So I would start to make a list of what are the type of characteristics of people that are ready to work with me and people that are not ready to work with me yet. You get a lot of people that maybe and it's not always budget. Maybe they are doing other things. Maybe they're not at a stage in their life. For me, when I was a trainer, people that had school age kids were not qualified to work with me because they just didn't have the time or the schedule, or they had so many things going on. Personal training just wasn't for them. So you need to think about who would work with you, and you should have your content pre-qualify them. Like, for example, I turn a lot of people off in my content, and that's because they're not ideal to work with me, right? So you can pre-qualify people through, number one, being yourself. That will turn off a lot of people that aren't going to be a good fit for you. I curse. I might get on here with a bonnet. Who knows what's going to happen? So that's how I am on my Instagram. So if you're going to work with me, you're going to know that this is the style of the type of person that I am. Also, when you do get an inquiry, how do you talk to people, right? Like, what are the questions that you ask them? I used to ask a lot of the wrong questions, and I would end up on a lot of consultations with people that were not ready, because I'd be like, what kind of business do you have? Instead of being like, what made you book the call today? Right? Those are two different types of questions. And if you're qualifying someone, you need to know, what does it look like when I have a really good customer? One of the things that we do is we never make offers to people that are not comfortable paying our rates. We have a premium service, and we won't charge like super cheap rates to make you satisfied and then not be able to deliver results. So if our pricing makes you super uncomfortable, we won't even make an offer to you, because that's one of the ways that we pre-qualify people. They have to be comfortable paying the rate, and they have to see the value in it. So your content should reflect that. And then your copywriting skills are going to come into play. Now, this is going to scare you guys, because you're going to be like, you want me to learn how to be a copywriter? Yes, there's a Udemy class for $9.97 that you can take an hour out of your day that will break down good copywriting skills. And copywriting is writing in a way that sells your services. You know, when you go put that caption on your post, when you go make that email, you have to write that in a way that's good copywriting. And when I was getting those websites and stuff made, people were saying copywriting is expensive. It's $75 an hour, or I write all my own copy. And I just told you guys, I convert at 30%. And that's because I learned how to talk to people in a way that will compel them to action. And sometimes that just has to do with asking for the sale. Sometimes that just has to do with in your email saying, if you would like to work with me, send me an email, and writing in a way that people trust you. You're not writing grammatically correct necessarily. I think we overthink typos and things like that, as opposed to learning like what it takes to really write good copy. So another thing we do as an agency is we write all the copy for our clients and we take that out of it. But for everybody, we teach them how to do their own keyword search so that they have a pool of words to write their content from, and it makes them easier to be found. Another key tip is if you know the keywords in your industry, they should be somewhere in your bio of your Instagram, because now Instagram, you guys notice how hashtags is not that big of a thing. Instagram is actually turning it into a search engine. So what's important is just having those keywords somewhere in your captions and especially in your bio. Like my bio says I'm a social media marketing agent or agency. So when people search that, I come up. So make sure you know the keywords in your industry. And guys, this is very simple. Go on YouTube, go on Google, type in what somebody would search, and all those little words that try to come up and guess those phrases, write all those down. Write those down and put them somewhere in your content. Okay, next slide. Nurture. So somebody said I love reels. Me too. So I love a good email list, but I don't think you necessarily need a ton of people on an email list. There's a couple different strategies. Some people send so many emails out that people unsubscribe from them. And then that's their strategy. They're like, I'm going to blast you with emails and you're going to get tired of my emails. Then you're going to unsubscribe. And that means that you really didn't want to see my content. My strategy is a strategy that nurtures people. So there's a series of 8 emails that we send out and that we teach our clients to send out. And it starts with introducing the problem that the client is trying to solve. And then it goes through teaching them about the solutions to the problem, showing them why your solution is unique, maybe interjecting some social proof like some testimonies or some case studies or examples or pictures of people that you've worked with, and then telling them about you as an individual and eventually pitching your offer to them through the email. So it's an 8 email sequence that I teach as part of my curriculum, but it's also something that can be shortened up. If you only want to send 4 emails, you can combine emails. But the whole premise of it is the sales psychology that says, I know you guys have probably heard of know, like, and trust, right? So that framework goes across your emails, your social media, and everything. Is that people aren't going to buy from you if they don't know you, they don't like you, or they don't trust you. So the way that we schedule out these emails, we're building that relationship over time to where it's almost like a no-brainer to buy something from you by the time you make that final offer, because you've presented them with enough information to build that relationship. You've shown proof that you can do what you said you're going to do. And it doesn't always work, right? You can send that sequence again with different topics. You can send out topics to your emails that don't even have anything to do with that sequence. And this is going to sound a little contradictory, but I tell a lot of my clients is your problem is that you want a strategy, right? So like sometimes it's good to just reach out to people. And if you tie yourself too rigid to a strategy, the day you don't send out that 3rd email, you'll sabotage, right? So you need strategies for the blueprint of what to do or how you quote unquote should do it. But you also need the mindset of this is my community and I just need to keep in contact with them. So it takes a lot of the overthinking out of it, and it allows you to just build a human connection with people without needing that strategy like to move forward. Another good thing is to cross like your content, right? So like, let's say you do a bunch of Instagram reels or live series. What if you sent your Instagram lives to your email list? Maybe they didn't see it or they weren't on at that time. So you could just send a link of that video saying, hey, I went live on this topic on Tuesday. I'm sending this out to my community just to see if you guys got a chance to see it. So some things like that, people really find valuable. I mean, one time I did a whole Instagram live series and I told people, hey, if you're not going to be here for all of the videos, DM me your email and I'll send you the videos, and I will send it to people. I mean, sometimes I'll be like biting my nails, like, I hope I don't get too many people, but those things like that, where we take away the strategy and we just be human, it makes people say, dang, she like personally sent me a live that I missed. And those things really are not strategies. Like I said, they just are ways that you just want to build that community. Somebody said mindset is everything. And I just wanted to read that comment because I like to say, like, there's three components to marketing. One is mindset. The second is the strategy. And the third is the technical stuff. It's the apps, it's the features, it's the stickers, it's the transitions. And if I ask people like, hey, what do you need the most help with? They'll be like, figuring out Instagram. I'm just not, familiar with reels, but it's really the mindset. That's the part that is most people's blind side, their blind spot, that they don't see that they're missing that, and they think they're missing the strategy and the technical stuff. So that was a good comment. Following up, I see a lot of money left on the table by not following up with leads, right? So if somebody reaches out to you and then they can't afford your service, you treat that like that's a no. And I always say, I have no no's. It's either a yes or a later, or a yes, or you go on my email list, or a yes, or you buy a course, or a yes, or we collaborate. I'm like, what is a Denzel meme where like, I'm leaving here with something? Like, that's me. I'm like, I'm leaving here with something. We're going to have some sort of relationship. And the way that I like to think about this is that I saw an analogy that said, like, if you got 10 likes, you'd be like, dang, I only got 10 likes. But if 10 people came up to you in public and gave you a compliment, you'd be like floored, right? And I think we have to give recognition to the fact that somebody even booked a call with us, or they DM'd us, or they liked a post. Like, I'm super grateful for engagement, even because you don't even have to be following me. Look, if you stay on my page after all the cussing and ranting and raving I do, you're a writer. Like, I'm grateful for you even being there, let alone hopping on a call with me. So I feel like it's just the right thing to do, to follow up and be like, hey, I know you wanted to work with me before. Maybe it wasn't the right timing, but how have you been? Like, come on. It's not like, oh, you didn't work with me, so screw you, I'll never talk to you again. And a lot of times we'll be like, well, they couldn't afford me, or people are always undercutting my budgets. But guys, I'll tell you, I have at least 3 people that saved up to hire me, or they put it in their budget, or maybe it's coming from a grant or something. So you don't want to discount the fact that they actually, they're trying to work with you. That's why they booked the call. So following up is good. I like to every month make a list of people that have reached out, DM'd. And here's another thing, guys, expect the rejection. Expected. People reach out to me for help, and then they get my prices and they start running from me like a bill collector, like, okay, sorry, good, I'll get back to you later. And I just want them to know it's safe to talk to me. I'm not pitching you. I know sales feels icky. I just want to see how you are. Did you solve that problem? And building safe conversations around sales and people's budgets is your job. Because if they're making a purchase, this is uncomfortable for them. They're coming to you for something that they maybe can't do themselves. And it's intimidating to reach out to a professional. So you have to see yourself as an expert and know, like, this person was nervous, so maybe I should just treat them like a friend and talk to them about their money things, and even ask them, are you comfortable talking about pricing? So that those conversations can be a little bit comfortable for both of you. I'm reading the comments. Yes, you don't only talk about business. So I think that's another thing, is that I won't do business with anybody that I wouldn't have dinner with. That's like my rule. I don't care how much money you have. It's like, you want to have those great working relationships of not like an ideal client, but like a dream client. And sometimes just following up, you might still get that person, and they could just become a friend, right? Or have a connection. It doesn't always have to be them being a customer. Serving your online community with high value content. Now, I was hesitant to put the words high value content because I know people are like, everybody's saying like high value content. So I like to take out that whole phrase and say useful. Can somebody use that tip as soon as they see it? Will somebody share that with somebody as soon as they see it? So high value content, you'll think that you need to write an essay. I remember, this isn't to make fun of them, but I had clients that had a chocolate company, and their family had a cacao farm in Ecuador, and they would write these like really compelling historical posts about the cacao bean and how it's fermented and how the dark chocolate. I said, y'all, these people on Instagram do not care about that. Like, you have to make the content useful for them. Now, is that interesting? Yes. Is that educational? Yes. But would their time be better spent maybe showing a recipe that someone could make in their home, something that somebody could make quickly, something that would help somebody and they be able to use it? So when you say high value content, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Show people the whole brains of your operation, because you need to show them your unique selling point and how you do things and why it's different. And like in their case, going into the history of cacao is not something that's going to really warm people up. It's useful, you can put it in there, but the bulk of your content shouldn't be information dense. It should just be more useful than informative, because if people really wanted to learn and be in school, they would not be on Instagram. That would not be the place for them to learn. They want to laugh, they want to have fun. You don't have to come out of your character and like become a whole clown, but you just want to think about like, do they want to feel like they're in history class, or do they want to feel like your content is boring to them, right? So you want to give something that's useful. And also another tidbit is, what decisions do people make right before they start working with you? So like a good piece of content you could put out is, if you have an event business, how to put together a budget for your event so that people can prepare themselves to get ready to work with you. Assume that they're getting in line to hire someone like you. So what would be the things that they would need before they worked with you? Maybe some of your content could even help them get organized to work with you so that they can be ready to work with you. Now that's useful. That's not high value as in it looks good, it looks full of information. It actually helps them move along their customer journey to get closer to, even if they don't work with you, maybe they might work with someone different. Okay, next slide. How am I on time? I know I'm going like OD. Okay, I'm good. Okay. Retention. This is a big one because I would freak out when I had clients that would eventually either, maybe it's a season where they're not, come, like right now it's summer, people are on vacation. Right now people are talking a lot. There's a lot of recession and inflation talk. So we can get really, really, really scared that people either won't come back, or either we won't get them again, or maybe they'll do it themselves next time. I mean, we never know. And I grew up, my dad was an entrepreneur, so he would always tell me like, listen, you are someone's extracurricular activity. If it comes down to you and their lights getting cut off, they're going to pay their light bill. They're going to do their own thing, and they're not going to want to pay for this extra service. So that was a huge fear for me. And one thing that I always have to try to make sure that I'm doing is I'm not focusing too much on getting a new customer and assuming that the people that have already spent money with me are just going to automatically come back to me. No, you should still have that fire under your ass that if somebody comes up with a better service at a different price, they're going to leave. Think about it. If you did hair, I used to think people were so loyal to their hairstylist. No, let a hairstylist be closer to their home, more convenient, and a better price. I don't care if they've been coming to my chair for years. People don't assume that they have that loyalty, even if they do. Over deliver to people. And also, you want to look at what we call the customer lifetime value, meaning how much time does someone spend with me in a year? How much time do they spend with me over 2 years? If they book 5 services with me over a year for $2,000, then that person they didn't spend $2,000. They have a customer lifetime value of $10,000 in my business. So either think of ways that you can sell other things to them, upgrade their packages, or maybe offer them other incentives to stay with you longer, or even that referral program, right? Because you want to get the lifetime value of one customer. So here's a good example, right? A customer comes to me and I'm like, hey, you should sign up for this $3,000 package. They're like, I can't actually afford that. I only can afford $1,000. I'm like, okay, can you pay $1,000 monthly? And they say yes. And then I work with them for 6 months, and now I got $6,000 from them instead of them being in that $3,000 package that they could have barely afforded. And I would have only got the $3,000 from them. So you want to think about, what is the lifetime value of that customer? Is it easy for me to get a portion of a payment up front and have them locked in for a year, and for that year I get more money over time from them? Or am I trying to get the big bucks from them up front, but then I might not ever see them again until next year, and I only got $3,000 from them for the whole entire year? So sometimes you have to think about, what is a long term, and also what results can you get them over time? So I put subscriptions in here because it may not apply to some of your businesses, but for some of your businesses, it may. And it doesn't have to be an online subscription. It can be an online party box that people get every month. It could be something that people do set up their own stuff, their own parties. It could be a balloon box. It could be something that somebody says, okay, for a discounted amount, I will allow you to auto debit my account every month for 6 months. And maybe they get something different every month, something special every month. Maybe they even get a discount on their bigger purchases. But once again, this goes back to that lifetime value, where if it was me, I would take all of your businesses and find a way to have a subscription. I would be like, hey, you know what? You got a chocolate business, then somebody's going to get assorted chocolates every month in a different variety, and they're going to pay $39 a month. And if they pay for the year up front, they'll actually get it, because you know what this is? This is cash flow. So we're not always looking at how much flow is coming into our business monthly. How much recurring revenue can I count on coming into my business? It could be an ebook. It could be you could charge for your monthly newsletter that goes out to people every month. It could be a class that you teach every month. But the idea is somebody is signing up for a long-term commitment with you. And what that does for women, which we need so much, is it makes your finances so much more secure. Just think about this. If somebody signs up for $25 a month, and even if they don't use it, because I know I did this with some vitamins on Amazon. If y'all want some estrogen vitamins, please let me know, because I never canceled it. And I have, like, just off of me being like, oh, I'd rather get this $2 off, right, that I got on Subscribe and Save. And now I got a cabinet full of some vitamins that I don't use. But that's the premise. It's not that you want your clients to forget to cancel the subscription, but they're making a decision. They're saying, like, hey, I'm going to need this more than once. And there's a premise that we use in marketing called the pain of paying. And what that means is that people just don't like to have to put their credit card in something multiple times. So if it looks like, hey, I don't have to go through this ouch of buying this again, you're going to just debit my account every month. People actually would prefer that than to have the hassle of reaching out to you, having that communication with you, placing an order, talking to you, going back and forth, getting their tracking information. People actually pay for convenience. So something that is on subscription, automated to them, that's the new business model. That's the business model of the future. No matter what it is that you're doing, even if it starts with 2 people paying you $20 a month, if you stick with it, what's the worst thing that could happen? You get $40 a month for a year. I mean, most people it'll grow. You can, I've seen also people create Facebook groups and really nurture subscription members in a more private setting through a Facebook group. And Facebook groups have really high conversion rates because they're so specific that people opt to be in that group where they know you're only going to be talking about that one thing in that group. That means they really want to be a part of that community, and you could charge them to be in that community, monetize it, put them on your email list, nurture them, and get your coins at the same time. So there's a lot of ways you guys can do it. I know everybody has a different business, but keep that in the back of your mind. Maybe that might have even sparked something for some of you to add an extra leg of income. Okay, delivery. So this is where I talk about scalability a little bit too, because I know my VA thinks I'm psycho because I'm always like, what if we had 60 clients? And she's looking at me like, but we don't. But I'm always like, what if we had 50 people? Like, how would we be able to deliver this, right? If we're delivering a 5-star experience, it needs to be scalable so that if we had 20 people, they could all get the experience and the level of service wouldn't drop because we got more people. So if your business is slow right now, you may look at it as something negative, but it gives you an opportunity to get your operations together, right? If whenever I only have 2 clients, I'm over here like wiping my tears, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go in with this client and give them the best experience possible because one, I'm going to extend that lifetime value, right? They're going to stay with me longer. But then 2, they get to give me the feedback of what would make this a completely luxe experience. And I have the time while my business is slow to over deliver with them. Maybe I'm doing way more. Maybe I'm on calls way longer than I would be. But what I'm doing is I'm finding out from them what a really high value service looks like, right? So for me, when I first started as a coach, I was constantly asking people, what would have made you get better results? And it got to a point where I was even annoying. They're like, girl, you did fine. But I am literally stalking them going, hey, what would have made that smoother for you? And what that resulted in was better software for me, like client management software, things they could easily access and utilize. We also started using Marco Polo to send videos between team members and clients. I mean, text campaigns. It added so many new features to the business to where when somebody does work with us, they're getting such a high touch point experience, right? If people came and said they didn't understand Reels, we got affiliate links so they could take Reels classes, and getting that feedback turned what was just a basic service into a luxe service. And then all we had to do was the things that weren't scalable, turn them into master classes, turn them into trainings, turn them into videos, turn them into PDFs, turn them into templates, because we know ideally we can't deliver the way we did when we had 2 clients. It's going to be very hard. So we just made those other little tasks that make things so special automated, right? So now your welcome packet is an automated email, whereas before I probably wrote that email out. So getting feedback from people. And here's one thing that if you have clients that you've been working with for years, there are some things that they aren't satisfied with that they aren't telling you, or some things that just might be just nice. Like maybe they're satisfied, but it would be nice if this, or it would be nice if that, right? But they're not going to come to you and complain. So back to computer example of the girl that did my website. When I had an issue with it, she said, nobody ever had a complaint. And I told her a complaint is a good thing because it gives you an opportunity. I want complaints. It gives me an opportunity. Why do you think all the big companies are like, are you going to give us your feedback? Do you have time for a 2-minute survey? How did this person do? Because they know it's only going to make their business better because they have to be in the minds of their audience. And I have this little iPhone, and no, it's not an iPhone 4. It's an iPhone 12. But iPhone did research prior to dropping this phone, and the research showed that everybody hated like the big phones, which I was one of those people. And as soon as they dropped this, they got my money. But it's because they were getting feedback that people wanted. They didn't stop making the big ones. I just got the option to get an iPhone 12 mini, right? So they added an option to satisfy people and clearly get more people's money. So getting that feedback back, sending out a clear survey, asking for testimonies, and really having deep conversations. And I always say to my clients, I'm human. I make mistakes. I'm not perfect. And the more impact that I have in your life, the same impact you have in my life. So if you can tell me what will make this better, then I can deliver this service better to other people. Also, their feedback gives me content. That's why my content is so relatable, because those reels come from real people. They're not random shot in the dark tips in the industry. There's a person that said that to me. Or another thing that I do, if you guys are doing consultations with people, which I suggest you do, most of you probably do before you do work with someone, watch the Zooms back. Watch them back or download the transcripts and look at the exact language that people are using for you, because you might be saying, do you need help with XYZ? And they're not saying it in that language. So your content is going over their head. Your packages, your pricing is going over their head. And it seems like such a technical thing, but if you're hopping on calls with people, especially if the people aren't buying, you should go back and watch those Zooms to see, where did you lose the power in that conversation? Where did they stop trusting you? Where did the energy shift? What stopped it for them? Because there's usually a shift of trust where a person is going, I don't feel safe anymore. And they're not physically saying that, they're just like, I'm not safe to make a purchase right now. I'm not safe to sign up. Or maybe you're working with them and the project's not going as smooth as you thought. But if you have a Zoom call, you can give them the Zoom link, even if you want to. Because I've said to people, hey, we talked about that. I'll send you a copy of the cloud link and you can have it for your records so you know everything that we talked about, and sending them transcripts, because that sets the expectation and it has a lot of clear communication. It ups the level of your delivery so that you're always working under these terms of things that you guys have had conversations about. And then you can also, I've had some calls that were so cringe. The people just were not trying to work with me, or it didn't go the way I want. Maybe I was nervous. And just to watch those calls back actually helped me become better with working with people, to just seeing like I didn't answer the right questions or ask the right questions or whatever that is. And then improving the operations with each customer. So I'm very anal about this to the point where it bothers me, but it makes everything better. So like, let's say I have a negative experience with people, right? I will literally go back and change my contract so that the next person that signs up does not get in that contract again. Literally, like, I didn't have a, rescheduling policy, let's say, for example, or I didn't have a, how many emails am I going to send you? When am I going to respond? Do I respond to you in the middle of the night? Do I respond to you within 24 hours? What are the actual operations of our business? And every time I worked with someone and we had a negative experience, we ripped that procedure to shreds and that contract to shreds and rebuilt it. We're like, okay, we're never having that experience again. And it may have just been one client that had that experience, but we up it every time. We're like, you know what? If we're sending out social media content with typos on it, now we have a system where 3 sets of eyes go on that content before it goes out to the public. And that just has to do with improving your operations, instead of being like, oh, that was such a bad client, they didn't have a good budget. No, now we have an approval process, or we have a new process that fixes that so that it never happens again. And there's also this thing where, like, every time I've had to fire a client, which has happened a couple of times, and it's never like that the client is terrible, but the client may not be in alignment. Maybe they're difficult to even just communicate with, like they don't respond to our emails or something, and I have to say, hey, it's not going, and we're not helping you grow, and we're not doing what we intended to contractually do with you. I always tell myself it's a lesson, right? So whatever lesson I learned, maybe it was onboarding them, maybe it was red flags that I missed in the beginning, maybe it was me, maybe whatever, maybe we offered them something we couldn't deliver but we thought we could. And every time we always did, like, what did we learn from that, and how could we make the next client experience so much better? And now the people that we have now, it's not that we were like a hot ass mess in the beginning, but they're getting such a luxe experience just based on those improvements. I mean, like, every time I'd be like, changing the contract, my assistant would be looking like, again? Yes, because we need to make sure we have everything good. Okay. So now is where I'm going to break down my offers. I talked a little bit about this, but I'll talk more in detail about what it would look like to work with me, because it kind of can get weird when you're talking about coaching, but you're talking about social media marketing, right? Because you think marketing and SEO and all of those things, you're thinking like, okay, I could just have somebody do that for me. I'm a firm believer that you cannot outsource something until you have a good enough understanding to lead the ship on that. So if you have no idea what it costs, what work, or what goes into marketing your business, it will be very hard for you to outsource that to somebody else. And then whatever money levels you're trying to get to is behind a mindset, right? It's behind a mindset blockage. It's either something you believe about yourself and your business or your money, whether that is hard for you or the economy is bad or something. So coaching will break those mindsets. It will totally transform how you see yourself as a business owner. That's why I strictly believe in coaching. And one thing that we've started to do in coaching, which really is related to marketing, but not, is helping people build what they're actually selling. So everybody that has ever come to me, I've had to reprice their offer because it's not set up for them to profit. And they've probably not done the math on that. So we started saying, hey, when you come, we're going to start from scratch and we're going to build your offer. And here's why. If your offer is priced right, it has the right value, it's completely just put together really well, it's a no-brainer for somebody to sign up. But if your offer is weird, like it's not priced right, it's not clear what people get, it's kind of all over the place, then people are going to be iffy about it. So we want to make the offer like this really hard to turn down offer. And we start with mapping all of that out. What should the price be so that the customer can easily see the value? Like you go in the dollar store, boom, that's obviously 8 batteries for $1. I know that's a value that I'm getting. And you want your offer, whatever that is, to be like that, whether it's a package, a deal, a sell, you want it to really be clear. The other thing is accountability. In coaching, we meet weekly. And I use a software called Coach Accountable that holds you accountable. You get emails, you get reminders, you get tasks. I mean, it even maps out everything that you're doing. So you can get up every day and clock in to our software and and coaching scares people because you can't run from this. Like, I'm gonna get an email if you logged in. I'm gonna know what you saw. I'm gonna check on you. Hey, did you shoot those reels this week? It is very intimate, but it's very fun. It's not in a negative way. All of my clients really love being in coaching. We also go through your branding, so your colors, your personality, your identity. One thing about some of you is you may all be in the same niche or the same industry. So building out a personal brand that is very unique, that stands out online, is a big component of that. So when you come in, we revamp everything. You get to keep what works, but then we build everything. So we'll help you write out those pages. We'll help you pick your colors, your logo, your language, your pictures, your message, your pricing. We're going to meet every week and work on that stuff together. Plus, in between, send Marco Polos to each other. So I only take about 4 clients per quarter because it's so intense. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Iris.
Oh, just wanted to let you know what time it was.
Oh, okay, that's the time. Okay, let me move really fast. And the other option is just a done for you. So you get all the coaching and you also get us doing stuff for you. So if you're somebody that's like, I don't have time to meet every week, the second option is we'd meet with you and consult with you, but you'd also get my team to do all of the other tech stuff for you, schedule for you, write your emails, and all of that stuff. So anybody that's here tonight can book a free consultation with me. We can talk, we can figure out what your challenges are and see if there's an option that works for you that's within your time frame. I also have, it's not in the slides, but I know it's on my Instagram. I have a 5 masterclass bundle on sale right now for $3.99. For the whole month of July, it's every masterclass that I've ever taught. It's 5 masterclasses and they're all bundled together so that you guys can learn all this stuff on your own. So if you're somebody that's more self-paced and you want to just go through, there's really, really, really good stuff in those masterclasses that you can just take and make money from. Take yourself through the courses on your own and yeah, that's it for me. If you guys have any questions, then now is the time.
Man, that was so awesome. I mean, I love reading all the comments in the chat because so many people were really kind of like taking in all those nuggets. And I think just the way you delivered it was really, really, something that we could really take from. Patty and I were texting each other like, oops.
Oh,
Business cards.
I know the business cards thing got y'all, but keep your business cards. You know, they're still good. They're still good.
Any other questions? There's 2 more slides that we want to go through for Festively, and then we'll be done for the evening. But I know everyone was asking their questions in real time. Any others for Ashley?
I took down a whole bunch of notes also, and same thing, like there's some things that, okay, good, we're doing that, and then some things where we have a long way to go. But I agree with everyone in the chat. They were saying this is so amazing, so much valuable information, great information. And I think, to Iris's point, the way that you deliver it as well, very real. You speak to us as people, and I think you really inspired us to just, really push forward for whether it's asking for the sale. You gave us so many great language tips. I'm going to go back. We're recording this, right? So you can go back, but I started to write down things that you said you said them in a way that's comfortable and easy to say, that builds trust. So I just can't thank you enough for giving us all your wisdom today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So, so one thing I was really excited to hear is like when you were talking about community, right? Because that's something that Festively is big on. So, in our 2 slides, I know some of you are familiar with Festively and what we do and how we do it, and then some of you are not. And so we really look at ourselves as having 2 offers, and I don't know if that's too many or but for us, we are a marketplace, right? We're online marketplace. When you think about something like when you're having parties, who's hosting those parties, right? Who are the consumers that's going to come and look for you and the things that you have? So we are the place that consumers will go to find you. And so part of what we want to do is make sure that we are promoting you and what you offer at our marketplace so that consumers will come, look for you, and at the end of the day, book and buy you. And then as a business, what is it that we're offering you to have you come to our platform? So one thing, that we believe in is diversifying your marketing strategy. So Ashley talked about going online. She talked about newsletters. And Festively is another extension of you being able to market your company. But more so than us just being a marketplace, we're a community. So if you're part of Celebration Fest that's taking place, those are the types of community activities that we like to engage in. If you're here tonight listening to Ashley, this is part of the educational offerings that we want to give businesses so that we can continue to grow and level up together. So being a part of the Festively community gets you exclusive access to these things that are happening every month. Bigger things like the Community Fest, happens a few times a year. And there's so many other things that we want to do. We want to go on, remember field trips, networking, we call them networking events now that we're older. We are a subscription-based service. So with that, if you've been on the platform before, going on there the first time, and Ashley, you would love to know that we are, we have 3 ways to engage with us. We have one where you come on, you create your site, you post your listings for free, and we charge a 7% per transaction fee. But when you subscribe and automate and become a monthly subscriber or an annual subscriber, you don't have to pay that 7% transaction fee.
We've really enjoyed working with you. Some of the things that were talked about tonight was like creating a Lux experience and really getting your feedback as we create what we're trying to build here. And so as some of our first kind of clients and customers, you guys are part of that building of it. Something like Celebration Fest is actually directly related to feedback that we got from you all, which is like, it's great to be online. How do we showcase our services? And so we worked really hard to create this amazing event. And similar, like, what are some of the challenges that you're experiencing? Sometimes it's around photographs or language. So our next upcoming workshops, we're going to do an in-person photography workshop with Janet, who does our social media, and she's actually a stylist. That's how we met Janet. She does styling, like product photography. So how do you get the most out of the photos that you can take and the reels and things like that? But it's going to be a hands-on workshop where we're bringing Janet in, and then we're doing another one around like a goal setting workshop. We were going to do that in June, but we just got too busy, and we know that you guys were too. And of course, it's always great to do it like beginning of the year, but there's always a great time to like just level set and take that step back and get selfish, right? That's what these whole workshops are all about. I know we were taking notes for ourselves. I hope you guys were too. But it's really the time that you spend on your business. We want you to be successful. Your success is our success. So we will put you up front and do everything we can to do that. So I think that's it. Iris, did you want to?
No, that's totally it. I'm going to send an email out to all of us with the recording from today. We're all excited about what's happening on Sunday, and we would love to see all of you listing your businesses on Festively, of course. So stay tuned for an email. More information is going to be coming to you. But tonight, we really just wanted to give you a little bit more to get ready for Sunday, because it's going to be an amazing day. So thank you, Ashley, and thank you for all that joined us tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And just one really quick thing, I think one of the things you said, Ashley, that I wrote down was how you just remember how you introduce yourself at the event. One of the things you could say is, what brings you to the event today, right? And so you can start qualifying, like you said, Ashley, like what brings you, are you planning something special? And just start that conversation to see what happens. But again, you gave us so much great language and tips. So thank you.
I love asking people, what is your biggest challenge around this? They'll pour their heart out. They'll be like, I'm stressed. I don't, they'll tell you everything that you need to know. Like, what's your biggest challenge with this?
Yes, for sure. Absolutely.
Any other questions before we sign off? Anybody?
We're good. Thank you, everyone. Oh, Amanda, do you have a question?
I just wanted to ask you, Ashley, because earlier you mentioned that you think podcasts are really good. And I was wondering, do you have a podcast, or have you ever thought about doing one?
Yes, I did a podcast at the start of the pandemic. It's not about marketing, though. It's actually about mental health awareness. I interviewed 10 therapists on different topics like anxiety, depression, stress for women. It's called the Swan Podcast if you guys want to check it out. I did not continue it because that wasn't my lane. I just did it as like something fun and something to bring awareness to mental health. But as far as a marketing thing, podcasts don't bring you money, right? There's a ton of work, and just depending on what your strategy is, you have to know that it's an upfront amount of work. But then on the back end of it, if you have a long-term strategy, then you could attach affiliate marketing or sell products or even do ads and sponsorship. I guess I just did mine as something I felt like as a hobby. But if you actually wanted to do it, I would plan to shoot a ton of episodes and be consistent. I've been seeing people actually just consistently go live on Instagram and rip the sounds off of them and turn them into podcasts. Like, people are literally just like, hey, I'm on episode 300. And you're like, how? And it's because they've been creating content on other platforms and just editing it and making a podcast. So whatever you're passionate about, I say start talking about it and save the sounds, and it could eventually be a podcast, and then you've repurposed something and you're not putting in a lot of work that you're not getting. I'm about the shmoney. So I'm always like, just know that you're not going to start off with that money, but I mean, it is a good long-term strategy. And it also, I like when people binge my content, right? So if you have something that people can watch a lot of, I think it would be really good.
And Patty on the chat, one of our community members, just said that she has her own podcast. So kudos to you, Patty, as well. She says it's a lot more work than it seems. Or it's not as easy as it seems. So
It's,
that is
it's a
awesome.
lot of work.
Yeah, very cool.
Good question.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful night.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so
Bye.
much.